Hello and welcome to St. Andrews at the NTT DATA Hospitality Suite here at the 15th hole of the Open. I'm Mandy Clark, and joining with me is Laurence Norman, NTT DATA's VP of Sports Tech. Thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, we will be looking, of course, at sports technology, the NTT Data Wall, and a bit more about that new technology, the digital twin, that we're showcasing here for the first time at the Open. And we're going to find out a bit of sustainability methods that are happening here at the old course. But to kick it off, I think we have to talk about the fans.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's amazing. Even yesterday, looking at the day before, even in the practice days, we were getting 15,000 people there. It's quite a compact course, so you see it really gets that atmosphere. Just walking around earlier, the whole family's moving around, the weather's fantastic, the atmosphere is amazing, I think, and everybody's really glad to be back as well at this kind of live event. 150th anniversary of the Open, and I'm so privileged to be here, I must say.
Well, earlier I had a chance to catch a glimpse of those fans streaming into the event, and I have to say we're so excited to be here at the Open. They were from all over. I spoke to people who have come all the way from America, but also from Australia, from South Africa. They felt really privileged to have the opportunity to once again experience live golf, and not only live golf, this very special 150th Open at St. Andrews, that birthplace of golf. So a lot of very, very happy fans. We're expecting loads of fans, and in the spectator village, at the heart of it is of course the NTT Data Wall. And for the first time, they got to experience that shot view. So when a player tees off, we have that near real-time shot tracker following it through the course, and it was amazing for the fans to see how it moves through the course. It's a different experience that the fans are getting here at the Open, watching it on the wall, and you could see they really appreciated having that other experience of the players, those top players, not just watching them tee off, but what those shots meant. And it was wonderful to see them experience and engaging with that data experience for the very first time. It was clearly an addition, a bonus to the experience. They were here not just, of course, for the data wall, but the top players. We're having the best of golf playing at the Open. They have a chance to see some of their favorite players. Of course, there's Tiger Woods. I believe he's teeing off right about now for the competition. So he was at the practice, and also Matsuyama was playing as well. It's a chance for them to really see top-class golf, be in touching distance of some of the best players, and that is the experience that live golf brings, and it's certainly what really clearly mattered to the fans, having that opportunity. It's also been incredible weather. I think we've been quite lucky to have the weather it has been so far. St. Andrews is famously blustery, but so far it has been a fantastic time for the fans to be back, experience golf again.
Absolutely, fantastic, yeah.
You know what really stood out was them experience that NTT Data Wall, and I know it's been with the RNA, the Open, since 2014.
Yeah.
What is it about the wall? What makes it special?
Well, it's so on a golf course, we did look at the main challenges. Whenever we do anything like this, any kind of technology transformation, we try to look at it from the perspective of the customer or the person who's using it. We looked at the design challenge there, and on a golf course, if you're here or at home, you're still limited into what you can see. So there could be, actually now on the golf course, there'll be 18 individual games being played at the same time with, as you say, some of the best players in the world. If you're walking around, you can only see one thing at a time. So the data wall allows the fans to, in a convenient location, highly visible, designed to be seen from as far away as 120 meters. You've got the food and beverage around there, and it really is one of those places people can go and recharge and keep in touch with everything that's going on. Not just on the 18 holes of the championship today, but over the 4 days, how the drama kind of plays out, and we use that data to tell stories that engage the fans in everything that's going on across that course.
And how is important having that data experience? How have the fan reacted to it?
They really, I mean, we keep talking about fan engagement. We're kind of, what does that really mean? But it's all about information but entertainment. So it's really keeping people informed about what's going on, but in an entertaining, engaging way. So, so it's been vital to it. In fact, this is the first time in 3 years we've had the data wall. We didn't have it last year. We were still coming out of the pandemic, so it's the first time in 3 years. And when we had the conversations with the RNA, it was clear that for them this is also a vitally important part of the staging of the event itself, the physical staging of the event. Key to get the fans back. We've got an online experience as well as part of the shot view technology, but that physical installation is still vital to how fans enjoy the sport here.
And it's a complex operation getting that wall up. Earlier you gave us a behind the scenes tour of how it works, so let's take a look.
It all starts with the main structure. In St Andrews, winds can gust up to 100 miles an hour, so it has to be a very strong structure. This is made of aluminium and steel scaffolding with marine plywood structure as well. Then comes the water ballast. We have over 22 tons of water to make sure that this whole thing stays put even in the strongest winds. We're ready to put in the 400 tiles that go to make up this single high definition screen that is now 20 meters wide and 5 meters high. And now the final touches go on, and the NTT DATA wall at the old course in St Andrews is ready. Okay, and this is where the smart stuff happens. So we're going to take a look at the digital twin technology with shot view. Hi guys, how's it all going?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Rob, can you take us through a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So these are our three gaming PCs running the Unreal playback. We've got this one over here, which is in our configuration screen, where we can set parameters such as the weather and the different APIs that we can be looking at. This one here is currently hooked up to the live data feed, which you can see is in our sort of holding mode. So this is panning around the course, it's showing different angles of the course. This is the St Andrews Old Course, obviously, which we've mapped in 1:1 scale using the digital twin technology. And then this is currently what we're testing. So we've got a simulation going on at the moment where we've got some simulation data coming through the API in the back end and causing our digital twin to trigger through some of the news items. So on the right here is our JSON bringing in the data that's coming off the simulation, but in real life that will be off the players on the course. And then this then takes you through various different news items showcasing ball positions of every shot and every player on every hole. So yeah, that's basically what we're running here with our three playback machines on Unreal. And then over here, we've got various different inputs coming in from all these playback machines. We've got lots of picture-in-picture windows running on the data wall outside. This is our preview window that's basically pulling in and compositing all of the inputs and playback machines that we've got set up here. And this is our live output. So this is what's out on the data wall as it's live right now. So when we're ready, we'll flip the preview screen into the live window, and we're ready when you are.
Thanks, Rob, for that. So I understand play is about to start. So if we can get this going on the screen, that'd be great.
Sure, no problem.
That was fantastic. And what that allowed us to see was a little sneak peek on the digital twin technology. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about it, though?
Yeah, sure. So we've been, as you say, since 2014, been showing the data wall, and it has been showing, the golf shots as they over the course of the championship. What's different this year is really a much higher level of precision, and we're gathering the data much faster than we ever have done before. And that's part of the evolution of this, to make sure that fans are enjoying the game of sport and understanding more about what's going on. So that means we're gathering a lot more data. What we can do now is get ball position data down to something like a 2 centimeter accuracy. We have a much tighter, much better view of the golf course itself. And that means you can start telling stories about how the different golfers are choosing different strategies about how they approach different holes, and then how the wind, for example, is changing the play. Really, again, it's another level of insight into how the championship is playing out.
And it really speaks to the skill set of the player. But how do you see this technology developing?
Well, it's all about more, what we're seeing now is that technology is developing, and a lot of it comes down to access, availability and cost. You know, a lot of this was possible years ago, but it was just insanely expensive. So now we've got much better connectivity. We're going to be looking at putting in private 5G networks which are much more secure, much higher speed. The ability to process data and store it at lower cost is there now for a lot of use cases that just weren't economically feasible before. I can see in the future we'll definitely be bringing in more types of data. We want to start bringing in more about the things that really affect links golf, things like the weather and the wind, and be able to show different ways of visualizing that again to help fans understand why golfers have chosen certain things, why a ball has gone out of bounds. And that's more complex than it might seem. So being able to get the weather information, wind, the effect of wind changes from the ground to how the ball flies. So getting wind information at different altitudes. I think bringing all of that in would start bringing up lots of different viewpoints that we can get available to the fans.
And do you see this? It's an amazing technology, and you can almost picture it in 3D. The different way you're looking at the wind speed, the height. It just seems incredible. Could you use this technology elsewhere?
Yeah, almost anywhere. In fact, digital twin technology has been it's been well established within, for example, the aerospace industry. Anywhere that needs to do prototyping of physical things, but without having to build them, so they can experiment much better, do it at lower risk. Again, that was specialized and quite expensive, but we're seeing digital twin technology being used now in a lot of our clients. You know, that would be certainly anything that needs modeling of a physical thing, which could even be an organization or a set of processes within an organization that needs to be able to simulate different conditions and experiment with options about what to do in the future. This allows really to create a future view of something through a whole set of experiments that have been done at relatively low cost. So definitely we're seeing that in sports. I mean, all sports are data rich, golf particularly. We do some of this stuff in motorsports as well, but that idea of how you can use the data to simulate and predict future events, I think is really, really powerful for every industry.
And whether it's digital twin or elsewhere, what excites you when it comes to new technology in sport?
Well, I think it's to me it's a lot about how do we engage broader sets of fans. All sports have a challenge about getting next generation of fans involved, next generation of players involved. We're trying to bring together more diverse teams. We're seeing a lot of focus on getting men's and women's sports up to similar levels of interest. We're now proud sponsors of the AIG Women's Open as well, so we're really proud to be involved in bringing that sport up to the same level as the men's sport. And that's about engaging more people, getting them entertained, getting them involved, coming here, tuning into the right channels to bring more money in and to get more players involved in it as well over years. So that's what we see now. Technology is also used to improve the performance of sport, but at the end of the day, sport is a human activity. So it's not just about you using the technology to be better than somebody else. We want to keep it a level playing field. So to me, the technology to get fans involved and bring more people in is where it should be. Yeah.
Of course, golf is an ancient sport that's been played for centuries, even played for centuries right here on this golf course. But for it to continue to be played here more than ever, now the old course is looking at sustainable measures. So we had the opportunity to have a bit of a tour to find out what sustainable measures are taking place here at the old course.
Here we are on the 3rd and 15th green on the old course at St Andrews. I'm Richard Windows, head of Sustainable Agronomy Championship venues for the R&A. I work very closely with our host venues, and in this case, Sandy Reid, Director of Greenkeeping at St Andrews Links Trust.
Well, thanks, Richard, for that. We've got massive greens here at St Andrews, over 2.5 hectares worth of green surfaces. Thousands of golfers, up to 50,000 golfers a year play here, so that puts a lot of pressure on the turf. Looking at them, they're lovely fine textures, a real blend of grasses through the greens here. Some of the fine fescues, which are indigenous to a links environment and disease resistance.
And we're taking over 500 individual moisture measurements each day. That then informs kind of how much irrigation we're going to apply each night to specific greens, to maybe sections of greens. So we're kind of minimising water use, but still producing a strong, healthy playing surface on which to play the 150th Open.
Fantastic, Richard. How about we go and look at something else in the course here?
That's brilliant. Let's go.
Richard, let me introduce you to Ranald Strachan. He's our West Sands ranger and lead on the environmental matters here at the golf course. He knows a lot about the rough and the biodiversity we've got at the golf courses, and I think it'd be good to hear a bit more from him.
Absolutely. Great. Nice to meet you, Arnold.
Well, good to see you, Richard. I'm glad that you could come over and join me in the rough. I think it's an excellent place. It's one of my favourite places. It's superb for biodiversity. There's obviously the outplay areas of rough, and they're left pretty much untouched, which is a great resource for biodiversity and wildlife, and they act as superb corridors for wildlife getting around the golf courses. The in-play rough we manage by cut and collect, which is a very recognised conservation method in nature reserves. And we've been doing this for decades. Because we have wildflowers, it means we've got an awful lot of pollinators. So we have invertebrates, and in turn we have ground nesting species such as skylark and meadow pipit, which feed on the invertebrates.
Thanks, Arnold. That was absolutely brilliant, and it's great to hear such all the great work that you're doing here at St Andrews Links, and thank you very much for your time. Sandy, let's go and see some more of the initiative going on at St Andrews.
Here's the all-electric greens mower. Really excited about using them at the Open Championship. You know, no other major has used all-electric mowers for cutting their greens during the championship. So I think it's a bit of a first. Really excited to be doing it. And of course, from a greenkeeping point of view, the performance that will be getting delivered on the turf, I think, will be second to none too. I've got one more thing I'd like to show you. I want to take you over to the West Sands Dunes to show you some of the nature-based solutions that we've been doing there just to help against the potential of coastal erosion and rising sea levels. Had some natural regeneration going forward. We're accreting land towards the sea. You see this chest pale fencing around us. This was put in roughly about 2010 in order to keep the public out of the dunes to stop any sort of too much erosion. And along with that, we stopped cleaning the beach, which you might think, why would you stop cleaning the beach? Well, when I say stop cleaning the beach, we stopped removing seaweed. So we've just left the seaweed to gather on the beach. It in turn traps the sand, and it in turn starts to build a little dune, and then the dune grasslands grow into that. So over the last 10, 12 years, we've accreted up to 8 metres in towards the sea. So there's been some great success stories here.
Thanks for your time this afternoon, Sandy. It's been a real pleasure listening to the sustainability initiatives that you're implementing here at St Andrews, so thank you.
No problem, you're welcome.
The behind the scenes of sustainability that is happening, and with us to talk about more of what is happening is Arlette Anderson, who is the Director of Sustainable Golf at the R&A. Amazing efforts that's happening all around. Tell us a bit more about what you're doing in terms of sustainability.
Absolutely, so many thanks for the opportunity to talk about some of our sustainable golf initiatives. Essentially, the R&A prioritises sustainable golf. It is the R&A's ambition to ensure that golf is, that it thrives, that it's diverse, that it is around in the next 50 years from now. That is a true definition of sustainability. So my job is quite simple on that. When we talk about staging sustainable events as well, as just you've seen in some of the footage therefore, it's a fantastic opportunity to really showcase some of the opportunities that we have in terms of how we prepare the course, in terms of our venue, how we stage the event, some of the engaging communications we have, but also some of the legacy as well afterwards as well. So for example, when we're talking about the venue, you saw some of the footage therefore, we look at how we can preserve the natural environment before the event, but then we take a lot of money, time and effort on restoring the environment back to how it was. Golf is good for nature, and we want to make sure that we can really showcase that. Also, you may have noticed as well in terms of the course preparation, this is where we're using really innovative technology now. This is low carbon technology. We're using electric mowers for the first time on some of the tees and hybrid mowers on some of our fairways as well. So a great partnership approach that we have with our equipment provider therefore. And then when we look at actually staging the event, 4 key things for us, which NTT DATA and Laurence has really helped us with, particularly around the performance in terms of our sustainability initiatives. So when we look at, for example, some of the initiatives around low carbon technology or low carbon fuels, you know, we are using now alternative fuels in our power generation. We are using hybrid vehicles in our fleet vehicles as well. When we look at our food and drink beverage provision as well, we are looking at locally sourced food. We are also looking at the elimination of single-use plastic bottles. You may have seen around the venue, you're not able to purchase single-use plastic bottles at all, but you might have seen some of our partnership approach with MasterCard and the Priceless Planet Coalition. So this is the opportunity. I've got 48 water dispenser stations around the venue where you can top up your water bottle, which you can purchase, obviously, with a donation to the Priceless Planet Coalition, which is something that MasterCard have also generated to enable them to invest in replanting or reforestation local projects to us, and that is in Argyll in particular for the temperate forest therefore. And just quickly as well, sorry, I am going on, I know, but these are all some fabulous initiatives that Laurence and his team are really tracking for us in terms of sustainability performance. You know, I've talked about some of the legacy aspects as well, but I think in terms of engaging communications, now this is where really NTT DATA have really come into their own about everybody plays a part in terms of sustainability when they come to an event, a fantastic event like the 150th Open here at St Andrews. This is where we are tracking data or measuring data around what are the spectators' patterns of behaviour, for example. How are they travelling to the event? Is it more sustainable means? You know, we are also engaging with fans and spectators around engaging communications. So the NTT Data Wall has been a fabulous opportunity to really showcase some of those sustainability choices and performance that we are actually implementing here at the Open.
That's really fascinating that you're not just looking, you know, people think golf and they just think the course. You're not thinking the wider environment, you're not thinking about the spectators. Laurence, as the IT provider of the Open, how important is making sure what you do is sustainable?
It's everything now. We have to. Again, all of our clients are looking into this as part of how they engage with their customers and whatever they do and how their industry operates. As you say, we're seeing a lot of individual activities. I'd say that are you know, things like power generation, EV charging. The trick and the thing that I think we can bring to bear here is more about tying that all together because. Even now gathering that kind of data and insights, sometimes it's still a bit manual, it's definitely disconnected. I think a lot of our clients would recognize that. You know, getting that single view of it is very difficult. So that's part of kind of our commitment to this over the next few years. And we're doing some initial work now with the University of Cardiff as well, who are particularly a lot of experience of looking at events, music events and sports events, and looking at the environmental impact of that. So they're doing some baselining work with us now. And interestingly, that's from 2 angles. So one is from the Faculty of Geography, so looking at the impact on the physical environment and how that ties together. And the other is from the business school, so looking at the communications of that. As you say, what we end up here with is, and the thing we're famous for, I guess, here would be fan engagement. And that's about understanding the game, but it's also about how those fans can help support their contribution to the environmental impact and how they can offset it, for example, or limit it, or make different choices about how they get here. So that's this is all about long-term partnerships. Absolutely. And we'll be evolving that over the next few years in partnership with the RNA, NTT DATA and the University of Cardiff.
Amazing. And of course, sustainability is going to be an issue that is not just this year, it's long-term into the future. Is there any other kind of measures you're looking into for that long view?
Yeah, so it is all around data and understanding some of the challenges that golf has in terms of the game, in terms of how it needs to perhaps maybe adapt to the future needs as well. So we have quite a in-depth research and innovation program, of which data is critical for us to really understand what those challenges are, what the impacts are, and help advise and guide and be that voice on a worldwide basis of how the golf can be a sustainable sport and thrive in the future as well.
Yeah, yeah. And to me, and I'm going to say this out there now, but it's one of these areas I think with, we're sitting in the VIP pavilion. We've got all of the other patrons here, some big brands. You say people like MasterCard looking at the kind of water initiatives. But this is an area where I think all of these patrons can work together. They've all got something to contribute, and our job as NTT DATA will be to tie that together as a single view to make sure that we can prove as well that we're not just talking about it, that we're actually doing something about it and can demonstrate that the beneficial impact we're having.
I think that's absolutely critical when you're talking about the carbon agenda in particular.
Yeah.
You are assisting us with measuring and recording some of our carbon impact data, and then we can look to see how that fits into our climate mitigation plan. So we can do as much as we can working with our patrons in terms of reducing our carbon emissions, but there are some elements where we have to look at a mitigation plan, and it's really quite critical that we really understand that data in order for us then to look at credible offsetting just at this stage, while we still sort out some of the challenges that we still face in terms of staging a sustainable event.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And finally, sometimes golf has a bad rap. It's seen as a dead zone when it comes to the environment. What would you say to the critics that look at golf and go, that's not sustainable?
Yeah, it's changing. It is changing. And I don't think necessarily it's just the younger generation that are driving that change. It is now across in terms of how diverse the sport is now. So we are seeing now more clubs and organisations and spectators and players actually wanting to take a part in how we can ensure that the game thrives in that future. So it is changing, and we thank a lot of our players and our ambassadors for helping us change that brand and that image.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Arlette and Laurence. That's about all the time we have for. I hope you enjoyed it, and please join us again tomorrow.